Okay, everyone, let's continue on with the notes for Chapter 7, this time starting with Section 4 of your notes and kicking things off with sports. One of the chief reasons for sports popularity with the network higher-ups is their consistent ability to attract an audience of young men who are extremely difficult to attract with other types of regularly scheduled programming. Men tend to not be at home as much, and they tend to have other things going on when they are home. However, sports has a way of bringing the guys to the television screen. Sports provides a much valued location for zap-proof advertising and promotion, especially within game action. If you've noticed, when watching sports, you see a whole lot more of game action continuing to be on the screen while they're finding new and creative ways to include advertising within the game play-by-play. Sports provides excellent branding opportunities for networks as well. A lot of things are very sponsorable before, during, and after a game. Sports programming in a multi-channel environment. A network that carries sports may spend a lot of money to do so, but it comes with a prestige and legitimacy for a network's perceived value. The contracts to have the rights to air games within a certain league can get very, very pricey. Tens and hundreds of millions of dollars that we are talking about. But it is something that a lot of companies and brands want to be associated with, largely in part, again, due to that key demographic that they can't get a whole lot of other places, not to mention the name recognition that comes with being associated with a popular sports league. Cable networks have also received reputations for its sports coverage in and of itself. For the longest time, ABC had that reputation for carrying the program Wide World of Sports to show all sorts of different sports from all over the world. In recent years, both CBS and Fox have become known for the places to find the National Football League. Fox has gotten pretty prominent with its coverage of Major League Baseball. NBC has started to get some notoriety for its coverage of hockey. So there is a bit of association that comes along with networks carrying the various Major League sports and college sports as well. Broadcast networks partner with cable networks to share rights for sports programming. Cable networks are able to offer most of the near daily regular season games, leaving broadcast networks to focus on the postseason and key regular season contests. So it could very well be that a broadcast network would partner with a particular cable channel to offer various games throughout a season, and even during the postseason as well. The NCAA basketball championship has year after year been a hallmark of CBS, and because of the need to carry every game, they have partnered with various networks. In recent years, I believe it's been TNT that has aired some of the NCAA championship games alongside of CBS. The minor sports that were typically covered by anthologies have, for the most part, benefited from the explosion in televised sports by gaining individual contracts on broadcast or cable. We mentioned Wide World of Sports earlier. There really hasn't been a need for that show in the past 10, 15 years because cable has picked up a lot of these minor sports, ESPN in particular, but you also have other channels that have dedicated to carrying some of these different networks, and you're starting to see some splinter broadcast networks that are carrying a lot of college sports and minor sports as well. There has been a redefinition of what constitutes a successful sports program. Now there is more emphasis on the quality rather than the quantity of ratings. And what do we mean by quality? We mean capturing a key demographic that advertisers are looking for. Non-live event sports programming includes pre- and post-game shows, also programming for children and young adults. So when you tune in on Sunday afternoons to watch a football game, the game starts at 1 o'clock, but the football programming starts at noon with the NFL Today. That gets people tuned in, and they catch previews of what's coming up on the games in that particular week and talk about the drama and predictions and prognostications and opinions and all that sort of thing, and people eat that stuff up. These wraparound shows help networks to more fully brand programming blocks and to expand the programming hours devoted to sports without having to pay additional rights fees to the various leagues. That's an important aspect right there. So they can associate themselves with the sports programming without carrying the sport itself, talk about the sport, feature different interviews with athletes, coaches, talk about issues revolving around the particular sport, and it captures audiences. Now, a different kind of sport, soap operas. And we'll talk about game shows in this section as well. Daytime programming has traditionally been one of the most lucrative day parts for television networks. Networks schedule about 21 minutes of non-program material per hour in daytime television, compared with about 17 minutes in primetime. So it's just a way that they kind of work things out. Outside of primetime, they have more availability for commercials because there's not as much content within the programming. Production costs and talent costs for soap operas are considerably less than for primetime programming. You have use of digital cameras, multi-camera shoots, and less post-production. So you have a lot of stuff that is recorded more live to tape. So if you've ever wondered why it seems like some acting within a soap opera doesn't quite mesh up, or it looks like someone's breaking character, it's because they're taping the mistake and they're putting it on the air because they're having to churn out 5 of these shows every week, and there's not a whole lot of time to send that tape to the editing room. Talent is hired for 5 hours of show per week as opposed to 30 or 60 minutes per week, so that kind of increases that pressure to get programming out. Soaps built loyal constituencies that lasted for decades. The Guiding Light, the first soap opera to come on the air, started out as a radio show and lasted for, I want to say, 85 years. I could be off. It's either 65 or 85 years. I think it was 85 years it lasted. So, and shows that continue to be on the air today, like Days of Our Lives and General Hospital, they've all built loyal followings, which has given them staying power. Soaps fell from their perch as the prototypical daytime program genre for 4 different reasons. First off, the total daytime audience has eroded greatly. The key demographic for soap operas was stay-at-home women, and not a lot of women are staying at home anymore. But even if they are stay-at-home, many times they're doing things other than watching television. So, yes, the audience is eroding. The audience for soaps is also aging faster than that of other programs. You still have a certain segment of the population that They have to go and watch their stories, as they will call them. But generally, younger audiences are not really catching on to the idea of sitting and watching a particular program every day. Thirdly, soap operas cost more to produce than talk and other reality types of shows, because even though there's lower production value, quicker turnaround, you still have a huge cast and crew that has to produce the program. And fourthly, today's seemingly never slowing pace of life makes it more and more difficult for viewers to devote the time and effort required to follow a program for 5 hours a week, as we've alluded to. Now, you also have game shows within daytime television, but we've even seen game shows not doing as well during daytime TV, and there are 4 kinds of competition that have nearly driven games out of daytime network lineups. First off, the popularity of familiar first-run syndicated game shows. Wheel of Fortune used to be a daytime game show, and then it got popularity within syndication, and it has been in that sort of vein for the past 35 years, something like that. The growth of cable and satellite networks dedicating some or all of their schedules to games. So if you really want to watch game shows, you can go to the Game Show Network and a couple other ones that are out there now and get your fill. The draw of network big money games. You're starting to see a lot more game show action happening on broadcast prime time. Shows like Who Wants to Be a Millionaire started off that way. And you have other ones that have made it in prime time, like Deal or No Deal, and Beat Shazam, and several other ones. And the rise of syndicated talk programming, where you pay one or a handful of talent. You talk about different things that are happening. You don't have to worry about prizes and contestants and all that sort of thing. And cost efficiency has definitely become a big factor in the way that networks have programmed content. So, with that, let's take another break. We'll finish things up with part C on chapter 7. Meet me over on that video, if you would.